Okay, so our presentation was on the environmental costs of mountaintop mining. I wanted to start off with a little quote that was at the beginning of our article that states, "Streams are the gutters down which the flow the ruins of continents." And a little introduction, streams are important for crop irrigation. They help to protect against floods and they help filter pollutants. Streams carry sediment and solutions down the stream. Surface mining strips away vegetation and surface soils, and it requires a lot of time for new soil to develop. And there's also chemical and physical weathering from surface mining.
So the MTFV process is removing at least the top 50 meters of the mountain summits and ridges to extract the coal. Within the coal, there's carbon and pyrite, and when the carbon is burned and creates energy, but when pyrite comes in contact with elements like air, it forms sulfur and iron to be released, which causes issues with the mine drainage systems, weathering of rocks and minerals, and potentially polluting the air. The process of coal mining is regulated by the Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act of 1977 and certain parts of the Clean Water Act. The effects that this process has on the aquatic ecosystem is it negatively fills the bottom of streams with toxic chemicals. In efforts to prevent this, rocks and debris are disposed into valleys. This creates a whole different issue because the debris takes over the headwater of the streams, creating ponds filled with toxic chemicals, and massive amounts of soil are lost in the mining process due to the chemicals that are released, which cause significant erosion and takes decades for the ecosystems to recover what's lost. The last part that's affected is the hydrology. It creates denser soil layers and creates a high amount of runoff when it rains.
Okay, so some of the local effects are lost streams, lost soils, and altered hydrology. Lost streams are resulted from sediment ponds, which eliminate headwaters. Lost soil is inevitably lost due to erosion, burial within overburden, and oxidation of soil microbes. And altered hydrologies, reduced vegetation, and evapotranspiration. Far-reaching environmental impacts are usually exported through sediments and dissolved substances from mined watersheds, and also removal of vegetation, flattening of valley contours, and compaction of soil and mine sheets.
This figure shows the biological importance of headwater streams and river networks. The left side of the image shows the contributions of headwater and downstream ecosystems, whereas the right side of the image serves to show the benefiting factors for species unique to headwater and downstream habitats. Reclamation, remediation, and mitigation of MTVF. Efforts including the creation of streams and mining sites and regulation that require watersheds impacted by surface mines to be returned to their former shape at the conclusion of mining activities have been put in place to mitigate the local and longitudinal impacts, but there are limitations. First, the failure to address ecosystem function. Available methods haven't been used to measure ecological functions. New resources can compare degraded versus restored reference streams. Second, stream creation versus stream restoration. Creating a new stream will not mimic or provide the habitat of the unmined streams in the area. Built channels will not receive, collect, or exchange surface waters and will have high sediment levels. Third, structure and function. The structure of the stream can be restored to match other streams in the area, but the function will not be equivalent. The water quality and function for the area will be significantly different as these parts cannot be returned to normal as easy as structure has been mentioned before. These channels will have high sediment levels.
So improvement of reclamation and mitigation. Plans to restore diversity of plant species and watersheds have not been proven successful. In order to improve reclamation and mitigation, you can use scientific studies to measure out the ecological functions and determine how these measurements can evaluate the success of a restoration project. So these measurements are essential to determining the ecosystem's ability to provide goods and services. In this mitigation plan, functions should reflect the system's performance and ecological processes. So for example, the function should be able to show that ecological process can have nutrient uptake and primary production. So what can we conclude about MTVF? We can conclude that it has harmful effects on the ecosystem and the environment. And as previously stated, these harmful effects can be both local and far-reaching. So the surface mining techniques can fill the watershed streams with the leftover rocks from mining. This results in a loss of habitats for the river system, and if there's a loss of habitats, there's a loss of streams and soils. A second harmful effect is the altered flows. The removal of vegetation in the streams creates altered flows. And the third harmful effect is the increased pollution. So the leftover rocks from mining are often lethal and toxic to the life in the ecosystem. And many times these leftover rocks have contaminants that lead to reduction in the water quality.